Well, folks, it seems that the Ravens have made their home here in the house of prayer. That's good. You know, I think maybe even the Lord's creatures can benefit from a little bit of preaching, if I dare call it that. Today, I'd like to get into a topic that is a little dear to my heart. Things that I've sort of learned the hard way, and of course I have a gift for being a very annoying sort of person, and getting maybe under people's skin. I just have that sort of gift. So I suppose that this session won't be much different. The topic is basically my thoughts on immigration and population growth. Here in Canada, you can Google this if you want. I recommend you Google it. Google Muslim demographics. Muslim demographics. I believe this was a presentation that was made by some organization out of the United States, but they do bring up some rather interesting points. Their statistics are, well, you know, general, but that's the problem with statistics. Statistics change. I mean, you know, they change quicker than you could change your socks, and I mean, plus or minus, you know, so many decimal points, whatever, but statistics do change. I just like to point that out. But according to their findings, and also I'd like to say that in no wise do I mean to criticize the people of the Muslim faith. I think that these are people who are largely misunderstood, and for those who really get a big thrill out of burning the Quran, shame on you, you ignorant people. Have you ever read a Quran? Have you ever picked up a Quran? I have, but there are many, many, many noble sayings in the Quran. And okay, although Christendom, or whatever you want to call it, those who purport to follow in the doctrines of Christianity, if I dare use that term, doesn't have the same Christ, so to speak, as the Muslims have. At least the Quran acknowledges the fact that Christ was born of a virgin, and that God did indeed do this thing, and they speak respectfully of the Messiah in the Quran. And conversely, you don't see a whole lot of people lining up to burn the Talmud. I don't know why. You don't see a whole lot of so-called Christians lined up to burn, was it 16 volumes, 32 volumes of the Talmud? You know, the so-called holy book of Israel. You know, the book that says that Jesus Christ is right now burning in hell because he was born the offspring of a whore who lived with carpenters, and now you know, he was Christ. That is, they're speaking of the Christ people. That they are saying that Jesus was a sorcerer born of a whore who lived with a bunch of carpenters, an illegitimate son. Nobody knew who the father was, of course, and now he's boiling alive in his own excrement in hell. That is what the Talmud says. That is what the quote-unquote holy books of Israel declares concerning Christ. And of course, they are the allies of Christians, right? Wrong. Anyway, I do digress. I understand that this presentation is supposed to be focused on population growth and immigration in Canada. But if you do Google Muslim demographics, you will learn a few things about population growth in Canada. Now, people are falling prey to this media promotion that there are just too many people in the world, and therefore Canadians at most should have one or maybe two children, and that's it. In 2006, Canada's population grew by 1.6 million people. 1.4 million of that 1.6 million were immigrants. So we're looking at a population growth of 0.2 million people. So why would the media want Canadians to stop having so many children? The average population growth in Canada per family is 1.6 offspring per family. Not even two children. Do the math, people. Do the math. I'm talking about born in Canada people. You're born in Canada, the average population for people born in Canada, the growth is 1.6 children per family. In order for any culture to sustain itself, it has to have a minimum of 2-point-some odd children per family. That's just to sustain itself. You have to factor in that there are accidents, there are deaths due to illnesses and other such causes. But when you are putting, when you are dividing a family in half each time, and that's what happens. When the family only produces one child, the next generation will be half the size, and the generation following that will be half the size. Now you've reduced it to a quarter of its original size. Do the math. Do the math. Okay? So, the 1.4 million people that Canada let in 2006 were immigrants, and the majority of them Muslims. And I don't have a quarrel with that. I mean, if Canadians don't want to, pick up the pace and give birth to their own children, I mean, somebody has to sustain our population. And I'm so glad that there are people out there willing to do it for us, since we're not willing to do it, because you cannot run a company with no people. You can't operate a business with no people. You need people to operate in a society. No people, no society. So I have no hard feelings against my Muslim brothers and sisters for filling in the gap. Obviously, many of the native-born Canadians are not so willing to do that. And who's to say that there aren't native-born Muslims here in Canada? I think there are. But I'm talking about immigration, of course. You see, all of this is a bunch of propaganda, okay? They are telling us Canadians not to make too many babies, not to have too many children, to make room for the rest of the world, I guess. Well, yes, who are we making room for? China, perhaps? Maybe we're making room for Mexico. Maybe we're making room. Who are we making room for? Because in order for Canada to sustain its population, you have to have a minimum, I think it's 2.3 some odd children per family. And the fact of the matter is, some families are making, maybe a little more than two, and some are making none at all, and some are only having one child per family. This is fear-mongering. This is foolishness. They want us to deal with population growth through abortion and all these birth control tactics and so-called safer sex. But in truth, this is what Canada had to do, because Canada's population was starting to dwindle, And the global elites, that's a good term. Global elites is a really accurate term. I borrowed that from Alex Jones, and I have to say that that is really what they are. The global elite definitely don't want educated Canadians and Canadians who are aware of what's going on in their country to have more children, because, well, those children will have an inclination to be educated, and they may even pose a threat or some opposition to those who are in power. So they want us all to stay stupid, and they want us all on the hamster wheels of the tax dollar generators, and to not have too many children, because they will provide immigrants to do that work for them. And of course, the immigrants are not going to cause any opposition, because they don't want any trouble. They've likely left their homeland for a reason, and they don't want any trouble, so they'll be good immigrants, and they will obey the government and do what they're told, and gladly accept the menial employment that they can get their hands on. Do you see what's going on here, people? Do you understand the game that's being played here? Canada is losing its sovereignty. That's what's happening. And the reason for that is because the powers that be, or the said powers that be, they're not really the powers that be. They are the global elite. They are not the true power. Okay? We know who the real power is. The real power is God Almighty. And they are not representative of the real power. No, these global elites, they want us, basically, in a word, to be living in slavery and working and raising children only for them. They know that they can't totally eliminate the whole population thing, but they're working on it. They're working on ways in which they can acquire all the things that they need without so many people, and they're working on ways where they can eliminate the people. And we really need to see what game is being played here. We really need to step way back, pardon the pun, to see the forest for the trees, so to speak, because this is beyond the pale. Canada is losing its sovereignty as a nation, and everybody is gobbling this liberal agenda of population control for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And they're doing it to their own demise. They have no clue that they're cutting the nose off their own faces. Anyway, that's it. God bless you. I hope that I didn't go over my duration of time here. God bless you, and thank you for